Hello and welcome to another crafty tip video. This is Flavia and today we are going to talk about erasers. When it comes to card making, there are three types of erasers that I think are must-haves, which are an electric eraser, a sand eraser, and a glue eraser. These three tools are a lifesaver, very inexpensive, and it will last you a very long time. Since I do a lot of stamping and hot foiling techniques, I always have these erasers around because I use them all of the time to correct my mistakes. I will go over each one of these erasers and show you how and when I like to use each one of them. But basically, I like to use this glue eraser to remove any adhesive that I get on my projects by accident. And this sand eraser I use to remove any overfoiling or ink stains. But when it comes to very small ink stains or overfoiling in very tight spots, I like to use this mechanical eraser because it has a very fine tip. So starting with the mono sand eraser, this is a great tool to use to remove overfoiling or ink stains. You can find it in packs with either 1, 2 or 3 erasers, and it is very inexpensive. This eraser is great for removing some ink stains that we sometimes get when stamping an image or sentiment or when holding an almost finished project with inky fingers. But keep in mind that depending on the type of ink and how big the stain is, we might have to rub this eraser really hard against the cardstock to remove the inky stains, and we might end up removing some layers of the cardstock, making it look a little bit rough in those areas. As we can see here, this eraser did a great job removing that black inky stain. However, this section where I used the sand eraser is not as smooth as it was before. So that is something to keep in mind, but at least I don't have that inky stain anymore. However, what makes me love this eraser the most is when I need to remove some overfoiling. Most of the time, when I need to foil a sentiment or an image, small or large, I get overfoiling. Overfoiling happens to me all of the time, and when I first started doing the hot foiling technique, I would just get very frustrated and throw away all of my overfoiled projects, thinking that it couldn't be fixed, until I found out about this sand eraser. Here is a closer look at one panel that I foiled using gold foil. These are meant to be butterfly wings after I die cut it. And notice that between each one of these lines I got some overfoiling. So here is the thing. Since hot foil plates create an impression on the paper when we run it through our die cut machine to do the hot foiling technique, all of our foiled images and sentiments are actually in these valleys that the metal plate created on the cardstock. And any overfoiling that we might get is on the raised portion of the cardstock. This way, to easily remove the overfoiling between each line here, I will simply go over the entire image with my sand eraser. And because I only want to remove the overfoiling that is on the raised portion of the cardstock, I will use a very light hand. The key here is to use the sand eraser to apply very light pressure, so we only remove the overfoiled sections on the raised portion of the cardstock and keep the foiled images in the valleys on the cardstock intact. Let me give you a closer look again and notice that I was able to remove all of the overfoiling without damaging my golden foiled lines. So using the platform and plates of my Glimmer hot foil machine, I ran this white panel through my die cut machine without any foil. I just wanted to apply pressure and create these same butterfly wings impressions on my paper to show you how deep the impressions that the metal plates create are. But remember that depending on the weight of your cardstock, the metal plate will leave either a lighter or deeper impression, and that is why it is best and safe if we always apply very light pressure when using the sand eraser to remove overfoiling. When we do the hot foiling technique, it is always better if we tape the plates and foil to the cardstock so they do not shift as we run it through our die cut machine. However, because of the heat from the hot foil machine, the stickiness from the tape always ends up being transferred to the cardstock. We could definitely use a sand eraser to remove that, but in this case I prefer using a glue eraser. This is a great eraser to remove any type of adhesive without tearing the cardstock. With this eraser, all we have to do is rub it against the adhesive, and the secret here is to go in one direction only instead of going back and forth like we usually do when using any regular eraser. So with this foiled panel, I did not get any major overfoiling, but we can see here that the stickiness from the tape that I used to hold the metal plates in place was transferred to the edges of this beautiful foiled panel. By using this glue eraser, I can easily remove all of that adhesive without damaging the cardstock. We can find this glue eraser at any craft store, Amazon, and even at the dollar store. We can also use this glue eraser to remove any dry liquid adhesive. For example, on this cardstock strips panel, I have dry liquid adhesive on these yellow and orange strips. To remove the liquid adhesive from this orange cardstock strip, I will use a glue eraser, which is the one that I prefer using to remove adhesive. And for the yellow one, I will use a sand eraser to show you that we can also use sand erasers to remove adhesive from the cardstock. Even though a sand eraser does a great job removing adhesive, it usually ends up removing the shine from the cardstock and sometimes tearing it. And that is why I prefer using a glue eraser to remove adhesive from my cardstock. Here is another closer look after I removed the adhesive from both cardstock strips, and notice that the one at the bottom is not as smooth because I used a sand eraser instead of a glue eraser like the one on the top. I am also using both types of erasers on this shimmery cardstock to show you that this glue eraser is way more gentle on the cardstock than the sand eraser. I also love using this glue eraser to remove tape adhesive. It does a great job removing that too. On this panel, I have one line of the Crafty's tape permanent adhesive and another line of the Elmer's dot adhesive. Notice how I am rubbing this glue eraser against the adhesive in only one direction. That is the best way to use this eraser. Before we move on to the third type of eraser that I love, I want to mention two other great uses for the glue eraser. One is that this is an excellent tool for cleaning up our alignment mats. This black alignment mat that I'm working on is a self-healing cutting mat by Altonil, and by using a glue eraser, I am able to easily remove any type of adhesive that I got on this mat. Also, this glue eraser is a great tool for conditioning new stamps. Sometimes, when we get a new stamp set, we need to prep the stamp before we use it for the first time. Otherwise, it will not stamp well. For example, here I'm using a new stamp set, and to show you the difference, I will only prep half of this stamp using my glue eraser. Notice how I got a better stamped result from the side of the stamp that I prepped with the glue eraser, and the other half is kind of splotchy. We don't always need to prep our stamps, but this glue eraser is a good option for when we need to do that. And one last thing that I want to mention before we move on is that as we use this glue eraser, the adhesive that we removed from our projects will start accumulating around the edges of this eraser, and it will keep on getting dirtier and dirtier. So once in a while, I just go ahead and cut off the dirty edges with a pair of scissors to reveal a new clean edge that I can use. So now, last but not least, let's talk about this electric eraser that I also found at Amazon.com. When we buy this eraser, these are all of the things that we get. Along with the electric eraser, we get a sweeper brush, one bag with 40 large eraser refills, another bag with 100 smaller refills, and inside each bag we also get a couple of eraser holders. I bought this eraser in June 2021, and I still have all of these refills left, so this will definitely last you a very long time. This electric eraser is powered by two AAA batteries that are not included, and I think I still have the same batteries from when I started using this electric electric eraser in 2021. This eraser is also great for removing either some inky stains, adhesive, or overfoiling. It is very smooth and comfortable to hold. For the eraser to start spinning, we need to press this button on the side as we are using it. I also use a very light hand with this one so I do not damage the cardstock. This eraser does not smear the cardstock and does a great job of keeping itself clean thanks to the fast turning of the eraser. Also, it is very easy to switch between the two different sizes. Basically, we just pull out the eraser along with the eraser holder. Usually I have the skinny eraser tip on because it is perfect for removing small stains in very tight spots, such as this one between the large butterfly wings at the bottom. I got some ink mixed with liquid adhesive stains there by accident, and I will be able to clean it up without touching and damage the butterfly by using this very fine tip eraser. Or even down here where I need to remove some adhesive on the white cardstock between the purple flower and this smaller butterfly. I could use a sand eraser, but since this is a tight spot and I do not want to risk having the eraser touching and damaging either the butterfly or the flowers, I will choose in situations like this to use an electric eraser with a fine tip to correct my mistakes. So these are the crafty tips for today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Before we go, if you like hot foiling and are looking for a great cardstock for this technique, I would also like to recommend the Hammermill 100 pounds cardstock. This is a very smooth white cardstock, and I am pleasantly surprised with the amazing foiling results that I got with this paper. I know it is out of topic, but before I started recording this video, I was trying to actually get some overfoiling on purpose to show you how to fix that mistake. So I was either leaving it longer on my glimmer machine or using the colors of foil that usually give me overfoiling results. And for some reason, I just kept on getting perfect results every time. I just couldn't believe that I was getting perfect results non-stop during the only time when I actually needed some overfoiling to happen. Then I realized that I had recently bought the Hammermill cardstock, and that's what I was doing differently. Here are all of the amazing, perfectly foiled panels that I created using the Hammermill cardstock. I got some overfoiling in some areas of this purple panel, but I can quickly fix it with a sand eraser. But this is such a little mistake compared to all of these other amazing results that doesn't even count. So this video turned out to be longer than what I had planned for a crafty tip edition, but I hope some of this information was helpful to you. I appreciate you spending this time with me, and thank you so much for watching until the end. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel so you do not miss the next one. I hope to see you again soon, and happy crafting!